And fortunately, we do have our wonderful tracker on deck here to help keep us honest. But, yep, that's the nice thing about casual boots. We can kind of take our time, we can relax, let the runners run through this largely scripted sequence. Just another arrow there in the blue boomerang chest. But, yeah, pretty much the most exciting thing to happen so far has just been that lovely moon pearl. No need to search around for it. And Lanabean making quick and efficient work of the ball and chain guard, grabbing the flute out of Zelda's cell. Pytlovan having just a little bit of trouble getting there, but takes out that ball and chain guard with a pot to the dome and then a couple of sword slashes. And it's always interesting seeing these standard start races. We like to complain about it as commentators. It's always the same. What do we even say for these 5 or 6 minutes? But it is nice to see our runners just neck and neck in a largely scripted sequence get a little bit of an idea of what kind of execution gap we're looking at here. And it looks like Lanabean is now already half minutes in, is a couple screens ahead of. Not that Pytlovan is doing bad by any means, but Lanabean's movement is just a little cleaner, it seems like. And that early flute might make things interesting, might open up the possibility for some early divergence. When overworld movement becomes so cheap, it becomes a lot easier to justify some out-of-the-way checks, maybe a desert sage check. Maybe you go up to the mountain and just unlock that third save and quit spot. Lots of fun stuff that can happen once we've gotten ourselves to Cack Village and managed to turn in that flute. And that's a Master Sword sitting there behind the bonkable wall there. With that early Moon Pearl, early Master Sword, if you're like me and 99% of chat, you're thinking all it takes is a lamp, and then we got Aga 1 access, and then we got Dark World, but not the way we want it. I should say not the way the runners want it. We here in the comms booth and in chat want all the rudest things to happen. And that's a nice trio of bombs there in the Sanctuary. Always good to get those bombs before heading into Cack Village. No worries about having to try to farm them. And that was a blink-and-you-miss-it map check over on Lanabean's side. I believe I saw blue crystals on Hera and Desert, and I believe that was a pendant in Eastern. And it looks like we are getting confirmation on that from both chat and our tracker. $300 there in Bonk Rocks. Also, a very nice convenience find here in this early game. Going to give us plenty of money to go ahead and get the check from the bottle merchant and also get a head start on, like, maybe Zora. Oh, that's a rough bee spawn there for Lana. Looks like we were hoping to see what the bush crab would have. Just hearts. Lana didn't miss out on anything. Just $50 in the lumberjack spot, so if we do wind up having to do Aga, it's going to be strictly for Dark World access. Lana opting to spend the time to pick up that big 20 in the shovel, or mushroom rather, spot. And there's a glove. There's a glove there in the thieves' hideout. So that's a nice find. One more piece of our Dark World puzzle that does not rely on going through that lengthy Aga 1 Hyrule Castle dungeon and fight. Had a nice little bit of sync there for a second. Looks like Lana's pulling ahead for the moment, but it's such early days. Those tiny little early game leads seem like such a big deal until things diverge later and you have no idea who's ahead or behind. And it looks like we've got a book here. Could be tempting to get into Desert Palace, but with no fire source yet, not going to be completable until we find that. Back in sync, heading into the well, both of our runners picking up a hook shot. That opens up, between that and the flute, that gives us logical access to a lot of checks on the mountain. Also going to go ahead and grab some powder. Not going to come in handy quite yet, but nice to have in your back pocket for later. Just a trio of bombs from the bottle merchant. A quick toot on the flute to free the space dock. Lana treating us to a chicken clip, so that's a moral victory right there. But more importantly, we've got a bottle, which will open up another check just one door to the right. That chicken clip is a fun piece of swag. Gives you absolutely no advantage whatsoever. Oh, and that's a mirror from Bottle Boy. Very nice to find. That's going to open up the way to Tower of Hera. Also, will eventually make our dark world routing, rather, just that much easier and more convenient. And Lana showing off some good game knowledge, selling that golden bee to the bottle merchant for $100. I have definitely noticed Lana going out of the way to pick up just a little bit of cash wherever it makes sense to do so. Clearly has Zora on the mind. And it looks like Pytlovan's going to head up to the mountain, do a little darkroom action to save the old man, unlock the third save and quit spot. Oh, Lana, dodging the duck. Okay, there we go. And with that hook shot, we will be able to get the crystal out of Tower of Hera. May or may not be able to get both items. We might have one fire-locked in the basement, but honestly, sometimes it can feel good to have just a perfect excuse not to go into that basement. Just a shield in there inside Spectacle Rock. But that's going to be a bunch of exploded shards of a shield by the time Lana's done with it. Here's our Dark World check. We've got red crystals in Swamp Palace and Ice Palace, a green pendant in Thieves Town, and another pendant in Mire. Always nice to have the possibility of skipping Mire. It's one of those dungeons that can be so quick or so time-consuming. It's only 2 items. Do I go in? Do I not? And we've got a mushroom here in the Tower of Hera lobby. And with the big key having been on our other first 2 checks, it's looking good that we might be able to full clear this even without a fire source. And even in logic, no less. And that big 20 is our second item, so no worries about stranding an item in the basement, no worries about crazy logic breaks. This is all nice and in logic. Pytlovan taking an unfortunate dive, dashing into that bumper. It happens to the best of us. This is a tight, I believe, 1 pixel window to get in between that bumper and that hole. Makes it on the second try. As we head into our Troll Dorm fight, 2 quick spins to get things started. Just missing that 3rd spin. Ooh, very nice on Pytlovan's side, making use of those iframes from the hook shot and making quick work of the worm. Trolldorm dropping a small key, but we know we're not going to need it. I believe it's a compass in there. Might be the map. We don't know. We don't care. It's trash. And Pytlovan's going to go ahead and treat us to the right-hand side of the mountain. And it looks like Lana is, in fact, going to follow suit. Pytlovan taking the nice little shortcut into Paradox Cave that is made possible by the mirror to use that particular little glitch. I believe it does represent a small time save, but you can make an argument that the time that you save is, or spend rather, doing it the same way with or without the mirror is offset by not having to think too hard. Sometimes brain cycles are more valuable than time. And there we've got a Quake Medallion. That Quake Medallion, the only thing of note that we found in that Paradox Cave, we've got a 1 in 3 chance that it's what's required to get into Turtle Rock. And of course, we're hoping never to have to go into Mire at all, it being a pendant, but you never do know. Nothing too exciting on the floating island today as we head into Spiral Cave, which, barring a second glove, this is going to bring our mountain trip to a close. We'll see where our runners head next. Just a trio of bombs, nothing too terribly exciting. So we got a crystal up here on this mountain. We got that mushroom. We got that Quake Medallion. Let's see what comes up next. And our first little bit of divergence here, Lana opting to turn in that mushroom as Pytlovan shows us what's inside the damp, the dam, which is damp, the damp dam here. And we've got a bottle full of red goo underwater here. And the divergence is going to continue. Looks like Lana is heading up towards Eastern Palace area as Pytlovan continues with the South Shore play. Making quick work of the mini Moldorms with that hook shot. But a whole bunch of nothing in mini Moldorm Cave. Sage's Closet not giving us much more to play with. Lana opting not to bother continuing on into... Ooh, that's interesting. Opting not to continue into Eastern Palace and instead fluting to Desert Palace area where we get a hammer and our Dark World access there on the Desert Ledge. Very nice find for Lana. Pytlovan setting up a water walk, and if you're rooting for Pytlovan here today, what you really want to see is a fire source so that we can go ahead and clear desert on the first try, saving some time over Lana potentially doing an unforced double dip here. I noticed Pytlova storing a water walk. So I'm going to go ahead and check the hobo out of logic. But then we'll be able to dash real quick over to Zora area. Just a piece of heart from the hobo. Activating that stored water walk, going to be able to dash right back across Lake Hylia. And that's an Ether Medallion. Flipper locked in the fairy fountain. Lana picking up that hammer, and we're going to see what the Desert Sage has for us. Zora taking 480 of our hard-earned dollars here today. Ooh, and that's a bow there in the Desert Sage. And I'm seeing Pytlovan fluting to 5. Gonna check out at least the Sage's Closet. Hopefully manages to stay out of Eastern Palace because the answer is going to be Desert here today. Looks like Pytlovan's getting out the flute. Okay, gonna manage to stay out of Eastern. Meanwhile, Lana opting to be a little thorough here, gonna go ahead and clean up some of these Sphere Zero checks before following that hammer into the Dark World. And you know, when you've got flutes, when you've got boots, it takes comparatively little time, and there are so many checks here. I like this play just being a little conservative. You don't want to leave some progression behind here that you won't find for another 20, 30, 40 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and flute out. Going to leave Ice Rod Cave behind for the moment. Meanwhile, Pytlovan has entered into Desert Palace, so gonna find that Dark World access. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, let's see what Hype Cave holds in store for us. And at this point, a trip into Pod seems like an obvious next move. Oh, and there's the Titan's Mitts there in Hype Cave. So the world is kind of Lana's oyster at the moment. And we're going to leave Pod behind for a little bit. Go ahead and do some South Dark World checks first. As I think about it, I like this move. Pod is a fully clearable, fully in logic crystal dungeon. Actually, not fully in logic without the lamp, but fully clearable at the very least. But you get out of there, if you don't find any progression in Pod, you're stuck with a tough decision about whether or not to go into that Pendant Eastern. So not a terrible idea to just go ahead and clean up some of this overworld stuff that it's unlikely you will be able to avoid entirely. Pytlovan considering considering fluting out, and then at the last minute remembers to dodge the duck. And go ahead and pick up that bow. Looks like Lana is not, again, being very careful with the money. Goes ahead and does a quick little arrow game to ensure that there will be enough in the bank account to pay off the scam fish and the monkey to get into Pod. That's a blue mail there in Dig Game. Nice little safety item to have, especially relatively early in the game. Meanwhile, in another nice bit of divergence, Pytlovan has opted to skip that South Dark World stuff, take that Dark World access, and take that bow and head straight into Pod Eastern area. And it looks like our runners' paths are converging again. Lana, after taking that little South Dark World detour, has made the same decision. So not much difference in loadout here. Lana did find those Titan's Mitts, but it's hard to imagine Pytlovan putting off Hype Cave for too terribly long. Lana looking a little bit behind, but having done just a little more overworld stuff that Pytlovan will almost certainly wind up giving at least some of that time back later. Not a logically bow-locked pod, but both of our runners did indeed find that bow at the Desert Sage. So not going to make much of a difference in any case. And yeah, the big question is absolutely, if you get done with Pod, do you make that Eastern Palace dip? I think that's a more tempting prospect for Pytlovan not having found those Titan's mitts yet. Lanabean with the Titan's mitts has so many more options than going pendant diving. It's a little harder to justify in that case. And that's a Bombos medallion, so that's 2 of our 3... Actually, between the 2 runners, all 3 of our medallions accounted for. Trying to remember where Pytlovan found that ether. Hopefully one of our... hopefully we have more than one brain to apply to that problem. Pixcalibur, our eagle-eyed tracker, reminds me, Waterfall Fairy, thank you. And Lana showing off some tech that's new to me. Doing a neat little bomb jump across the gap there. I've never seen that one before. Not sure how much, if any, time that saves, but it certainly is swaggy. And Pytlovan going to attempt a hammer yump. And oh, I missed that on Pytlovan's screen. That is the red cane there in the U-shaped dark room. Out of logic until we find either the lamp or the fire rod, but very nice to find. Pytlovan needs to be a little bit careful here. Took a couple of fireball hits from those little triceratons or whatever they're called. Nothing too exciting there in the dark maze. Just $50 and I forget what the other one was. It wasn't important. I believe Pytlovan does have a red goo in his back pocket. The dark room full of turtles is one of those that if you can get it on the first try, it's usually not too bad, but if you screw it up even a little bit, you might wind up wandering around in the dark, thumping the hammer at random, hoping to get lucky and potentially taking a little bit of damage, especially since Lana's found that blue mail. Pytlova has not yet. All right, let's see how well Pytlovan manages to handle this. By the way, Pytlovan, if you are watching this back later on, I have probably been butchering the pronunciation of your screen name all stream long, and I apologize for that. Yep, both of those bottles coming in handy. Sending out the Golden Bee to go murder some turtles. And also using that red goo for a health refill. I think we're down to one more turtle. And yup, Lanabean making use of that Bombos medallion to hopefully make things a little easier here. And that... Okay, both of our runners making it through. But once again, Pytlova has to be pretty careful here. Only 2 hearts, used up all the safeties. Getting back here. Ooh, is unable to... Oh, and that's a heartbreaker. Doesn't even make it to the boss. Oh, that is rough. That is rough. I was about to say, usually you just suck it up and take the two heart tax from the turtles going in here. And I have not been counting items. We are about to find out whether Helmasaur has an item, but Pytlovan's going to peace out for the moment. Probably needs to kind of reset the old headspace here. That's the sort of thing that can set a runner on tilt very easily, and it's no shame if it does. And just a map on Helmasaur, so not going to be missing out on any logical implications, not going to be missing out on progression. We're going to have to go back there and face Helmasaur sooner or later, but we can put that off. We've got a fire source to make that dark room a little more doable. And Pytlovan grabbing that Titan's Mitt. From Hype Cave, Lana, after taking care of Helmasaur, is leaving Pod on foot, opting not to go into Eastern Palace. Opting not to mirror and flute out. Looks like we're going to be taking a trip at least to Pyramid and potentially up to Catfish. Both runners opting to stay out of Eastern Palace for the moment. Just seeing a red boomerang there. It looks like Pytlovan might be just the tiniest bit tilted. Was wandering around in the overworld for a second there before. Opting to go ahead and... I didn't see what that Mire entrance requirement was, but it doesn't matter. Pytlovan's got all 3 medallions. That was a real blink and you miss it check. Might have been nice for us to have the information, since Lana does not have that ether, although probably going to get it in just a second here. If Lana opts to do some splash deletion to get into Waterfall Ferry. But Mire Shed and Checkerboard Cave coming up pretty dry for the moment. Catfish with a heart container that Lana does not believe is necessary. Lana having just a little bit of trouble setting up this splash delete and decides it's not worth it. Actually, may well have decided that there's just not enough ammo with only 2 arrows and 3 bombs left. There are ways to do it with the red cane. And meanwhile, Pytlovan heading into Village of Outcasts area. That Thieves Town's got to look tempting. It's fully clearable, it's in logic, and it is the green pendant. Could also give one more reason to head back to Pod Eastern area. But opting to stay out of there for now, going to go ahead and, at the very least, pull that blue mail out of the dig game. We'll see whether Pytlovan heads back up, maybe takes another crack at Thieves Town, or potentially continues on with Smith Chain. Both strong options at this point. And thank you, chat, for pointing out that Misery Mire is in fact Bombos. Looks like our eagle-eyed tracker caught that as well. Excellent. So, not going to be too worried about that Ether Medallion that's hiding in Waterfall Ferry right now. And it looks like we are going to see some Smith Chain from Pytlovan here. And Lana also fluting back to village area. We'll see whether Thieves Town might be on the menu, or if we're going to be following in Pytlovan's footsteps and bringing Jeremiah back to a good friend of his. And it looks like neither, at least not yet. We're going to be headed into Skull Woods. It looks like Lana's decided that that shield is just dead weight. We're going to let the like have it. We've got some dwarven bombsmiths in the mix today. And we're also going to get a chance to see what the Mad Batter has for us. Lana does not want to ride for Mr. Hand. Lana's got a magic mirror. You can die, Mr. Hand, for all the times you've trolled us. That is a tempered sword here in Skull Woods. Nice to have, but not the progression we're looking for quite yet. All right, so it looks like one of our two items in Skull Woods is going to be fire-locked in the back. Pytlovan covering some ground we've already seen Lana cover. In the meantime, Lana showing us some new stuff. Just some cash there on Bumper Ledge. Nothing we're too terribly interested in. And new checks coming both left and right here. Let's see whether either of them pay out. Just 20 bucks in King's Tomb. And that's our fourth sword. There in the purple chest, so both of our runners rocking tempered at this point. Both of them with their potential butter lying in different directions. And just a little health on Desert Ledge, or Desert Tablet, rather, and Graveyard Ledge. Pytlovan doing a fake flip here, potentially... Well, I'm not sure what he's doing. Okay, looks like this is in fact the Ice Palace play. Makes a lot of sense. It's out of logic, but when you've got a fully clearable crystal dungeon, you might as well do it. Although magic management might be a bit of a concern. Helps to have Bombos. But still, with only half a bar of magic this early in the dungeon, you got to be a little careful. Meanwhile, Lana giving us our first look at the inside of Thieves Town. Ooh, and that's a lamp there in Thieves Town. So that's our... that'll make dark rooms a little easier. Also our first fire source. So that's going to allow desert to be completed whenever Lana decides to make their way back to there. And looks like Lana's going to call that good. Peace out after the first 4. Nothing too exciting in Ice Palace yet, although you got to do it sooner or later anyway. And it looks like we might be getting a ped check from Lana here. And that is the flippers there in pedestal. Those will be required because we do have a Crystal Swamp Palace. So, folks, don't let your memes be dreams. It's a ped dream come true. And that is a nice bit of information for Lana to have. Because that means we can go ahead and finish out Thieves Town. Grab that green pendant. We can head back to Eastern Palace. Turn in the green pendant on the way, maybe. It does also mean that Myre's going to be in the mix. Meanwhile, Pytlovan continuing the Ice Palace journey. Should be getting to the bar just shortly here. And what Pytlovan really wants to find at this point is a fire rod, something to go ahead and make Skull Woods look a little more attractive, because you've got the mirror. If you're fighting Moth anyway, you might as well go ahead and check that ped. And that is knowledge that's going to be absolutely crucial when it comes to efficiently routing the rest of this seed. Ooh, taking a rough shot from Cold Stare as those puffs escape the corner. Ooh, very nice dodge on that aggressive puff. Ooh. And that third puff goes down. Not the cleanest Cold Stare fight ever, but any landing you can walk away from is a good one. Grabbing that crystal, and we'll see where Pytlovan decides to go next. Looks like we're back to the mountain on Pytlovan's side. Gonna get our first look at Dark Death Mountain. Meanwhile, Lana has rescued Blind from her cell and is cleaning up the back of Thieves Town at the moment. And yeah, looking at what's still unaccounted for, we're going to need those fire and ice rods to take down Moth and Trinex. Lana entering the blind fight as Pytlovan heads toward Hookshot Cave. Nothing much in Super Bunny today. Just textbook, very clean scripted blind fight on Lana's side there. Very nicely done. Pytlovan getting that half magic out of Hookshot Cave. So we're starting to stack the safety items pretty good here. Looking at a pretty strong loadout between Tempered, Blue Mail, and half magic. Silvers would certainly be nice to have, but I think both of our runners are going to be pretty comfortable even if nothing else surfaces. And with Turtle Rock also requiring Quake Medallion, that ether in Waterfall Fairy just might as well not exist. And we've got dueling Medallion dungeons here. Lanabean heading into Misery Mire on the left side. Pytlovan heading into Turtle Rock on the right. That Turtle Rock almost certainly going to be a much shorter affair unless we get an early Fire Rod here. And nope, just a heart container in that first chest, so we are not going to be able to continue our Turtle Rock quest. That's the sort of thing that you kind of almost want to see. The last thing you want is to get deep into Turtle Rock only to find it uncompletable. And where's Pytlovan heading now? Heading into Skull Woods, not impossible for the siren song of a Pedcheck to come calling. We'll just have to wait and see. At the very least, we're going to be getting butter in here. And of course, it never fails. It's a Godmire setup when you are not even close to Go Mode yet. Still 2 items from Go Mode. Nothing too terribly exciting here in Mire as of yet. Lana doing that fun... I was about to call it a rail clip. I don't know if that's correct, but the fun stair extension, I believe it's called. That's right. Oh, that fairy did not want to be sacrificed for your hearts. All right, Pytlovan getting that ped knowledge. As Lana heads toward the back of Mire for a fight with a big eyeball, Pytlovan's going to go ahead and jump into Thieves Town. Going to get that lamp. Gonna get that green pendant. Gonna get one step closer to those flippers that are hard required and on ped. So at this point, we have to start asking ourselves, where, oh where, are those rods hiding? There's a whole lot of checks in Swamp Palace. We still haven't seen the inside of Eastern Palace yet. And those are kind of the big spots where they are likely to be hiding. Lana running out of arrows. I'm going to have to take down that final eyeball the hard way, but still a very nice, quick, vitreous fight. Grabbing that red pendant. Yeah, with with both swamp and ice being our red crystals, for all we know, those rods could both be in Pyramid Fairy. Lanabean heading into the back of Desert Palace. I was not counting items when we were here before. I'm not sure whether we will find an item on Lanmos, but gonna have to do it. And there is never going to be a better opportunity than right here, right now. Getting in there with those tempered sword spins and swings. Oh, lovely, lovely little pinball action to finish out the fight. We're going to get a fairy bottle, as well as a third crystal here for Lanabean. Pytlovan getting a cheeky little hammer blow on Blind's second head there. Can't say I've ever seen that before. But stays right on script. Just an extra little swaggy move. You'll love to see it. And meanwhile, Lana is heading towards our first look at Eastern Palace. Both of the runners came to this area fairly early just to check Sage's closet and go ahead and flute out. And it looks like Pytlovan's got the same idea. Gonna go ahead and hop into the Dark World and finish out that Helmasaur fight. That was the source of an unfortunate early death. Navigating those tricky turtle-filled dark rooms. With the lamp in hand, gonna be much, much easier. Picking up a blue cane here in Eastern Palace. Lanabean not quite getting the single cycle Stalfos room, but making a smooth recovery, preventing that fourth Stalfos from spawning after all. Missed seeing that big chest on Lana's side, but we'll get a chance to see it in just a second here on Pytlovan's side. But whatever it was, it did not give Lana the impression that it would be a good idea to skip the vanilla big key chest. And it's a good thing that was not skipped, because look at that. There is our first rod, our fire rod. So we are in a good old-fashioned ice rod hunt here today. Just a compass in that big chest. But the nice thing about an ice rod hunt in a ped seed is that you don't have to think too hard. Oh no, should I go into Turtle Rock without the ice rod, or should I go diving in pendant dungeons? Guess what? You did all the pendant dungeons to get the flippers. And there's really not much left, if anything, that we haven't seen in the overworld. So the course of action seems pretty clear. Go ahead and knock out all those other dungeons. You can come right out of Swamp Palace and with your second red crystal and go ahead and check Pyramid Fairy, and if you still don't have Ice Rod, it's probably on Laser Bridge. Lana taking down the Armos Knights, going to give us our first look at a green pendant turn-in. Both of our runners have had this pendant for a while, but just no strong reason to come back here. It is the cape. One of the only safety items left in the pool. Pytlovan not far behind with that Armos fight. Textbook quick kill. Very nice to see. So that's Pytlovan's fourth dungeon clear. Lana's sitting at 6, so looking like a pretty healthy lead on Lana's side. And just not going to be too many opportunities for Pytlovan to save too terribly much time. Both of our runners more or less know what they need to do at this point. The Ice Rod location is a bit of a question mark. If it winds up being on left side swamp, it's not out of the realm of possibility that one or both of our runners might decide to skip it, but we'll just have to see here. Lana gonna go ahead and take those flippers, and I was about to say use them for a logical ice palace, but before that happens, I'm gonna take a quick detour here into Zora area. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up that ether medallion that we've been missing all this time. Meanwhile, Pytlovan heading into that Helma fight. I'm going to go ahead and make quick work of this masked turtle scorpion, whatever he is. And as our runners kind of cover each other's tracks a little bit, this seems like a good opportunity to tell everybody to go ahead and give them both a follow. They're out here putting on a great show for us. And Pytlovan going to go ahead and clean up Desert and then presumably go into Mire after that. If he's feeling a little bit behind and willing to gamble, could save a fair bit of time by making use of that Godmire key layout, but you're definitely taking some risks, making too many skips here. I was not counting the items in Mire. I don't believe Lana did the cutscene chest, but I'm not sure if that was a gamble or if that was because it was guaranteed not to be an item anyway. So we'll see if we can get confirmation or refutation of that when Pytlovan heads in. Pytlovan, with that fire rod in hand, able to make pretty quick work of those landmo worms, picking up another crystal. And yep, sure enough, going to go ahead and flute back and head back into Mire. Meanwhile, Lana closing in on that cold stare fight. Not going to have the butter sword, but we'll have the... Well, pulling out the fire rod. Using the sword beam strats to conserve magic. Unfortunately, takes a bad icicle hit and does not manage to get the puffs into the corner. Ooh! Very nice spin there, getting one of the puffs up against the wall, taking a little bit of damage, but with the blue mail, able to tank the hits and finish out the fight pretty efficiently. And Pytlovan not going to take the opportunity to skip the Mire items. Going to go ahead and grab these keys. And yep, gonna continue on, hoping to find that ice rod in here and just be able to go mode the rest of the seed, but it is not to be. And yeah, come to think of it, there definitely is an item fire-locked in the back of Skull. Entirely possible that that's our Ice Rod, and if so, we will see soon enough. And that was one of our two Meyer items there, just a trio of bombs. Going to try and pay it a little closer attention this time to see if there's an item in that cutscene chest. Okay, yep, that cutscene chest does have the second item, because we did not find one in either of the two chests that Pytlovan just checked, and I definitely remember that Vitreous only had a small key. So on the off chance that Pytlovan decides to check that cutscene chest, and if it does wind up being the Ice Rod, that is huge. But meanwhile, Lana dropping down into the moth fight. Making quick work of that moth. One item left in here, and it might be in the big chest, because there's the big key. Might also be in this bridge chest here. Pytlovan showing off that lovely spooky glitch that we all love so much, which Lana was not able to do without the fire rod. Kane dash strats making quick work of the smaller eyeballs. 8 arrows to the pupil. Taking care of the big one. Just 10 arrows in that big chest of Skull Woods. Not the Ice Rod that we seek. Pytlovan not going to go back in for cutscene chest. Going to go ahead and play the numbers and hope that that Ice Rod is hiding either in back of Skull, in Swamp Palace, or potentially in Turtle Rock itself. And speaking of Swamp Palace, that does seem to be Lana's destination at this point. But gonna go ahead and take a detour and check the desert tablet first. Lana has not checked the Smith chain yet. That is where Pytlovan found the tempered sword that later became butter. So that's an advantage that Lana has over Pytlovan moving into this end game. If Lana can stay away from that Smith chain, then that will be a nice little time save. Pytlovan about to drop into the moth fight. Making quick work of the moth. Lana giving us our first look at the inside of Swamp Palace. Always nice to have that big key up front. It always feels bad to have to backtrack or potentially re-enter the dungeon if there winds up being an item in that big chest that you decide you want. Lana showing off the Specky clip. A relatively new piece of tech that allows one to bypass the hammer requirement and also save a key, which is a nice little routing advantage even if you do have the hammer. This is a glitch that is of differing levels of legality depending on where you are racing. It is allowed here in the Casual Boots tournament. I know it's also allowed in the ladder. But definitely, if you are in a competitive race situation, make sure to check the rules in the venue that you are currently occupying. And Lana's going to leave left side behind for the moment. Hoping to find the ice rod, maybe just right here in the drown chests, and just never have to go back for it. But that's just a map and compass. That's a red mail there in the waterfall chest. Pytlovan finishing up, cleaning up that last check in Skull Woods. Gonna go ahead and flute on, presumably to 4. Yep, almost certainly gonna follow Lana here into Swamp Palace. So right now, Pytlovan about a dungeon behind. Lana melting those Argus Puffs, getting that nice one cycle. Not quite making that, getting that quick in the final phase, but that's all right. Just arrows on Argus. So we do, in fact, have 2 items in left side swamp. We'll see whether Lana goes back in for them or rolls the dice hoping they're in Turtle Rock. All right, Lana is piecing out. Looks like maybe heading towards Pyramid Fairy. I'm going to take a moment here and check Hobo. We know that that is not going to be the answer, but got to check all those boxes. And the big question here is going to be, is Pytlovan going to also skip that left side? Because any opportunity to find that ice rod before Lana does is going to be a golden opportunity to flip this race. Lana currently having a pretty nice looking lead. Pytlovan also getting off that Specky clip, not a problem. And it looks like we are, in fact, getting a Pyramid Fairy check from Lana. And then at that point, Lana will have the choice. Beeline Turtle Rock and hope that the key is under the doormat. Or potentially go do Smith Chain. Looks like Pytlovan is, in fact, going to go ahead and head towards the back of Swamp first. Pyramid Fairy is not going to be the answer here. Getting a save and quit. And heading to Mountain. It would be a pretty iffy play to have done that Smith chain. So Lana is going to be heading into the end game with that advantage over Pytlovan, because at this point, Turtle Rock is pretty much the only place it can be, other than that left side swamp, if Pytlovan does decide to go back inside. Very nice clean phase on Argus there. Oh. Ooh, and the quick kill on the final phase. Very nicely done. Oh, and chat quite rightly reminding me that there is still a check in cutscene chest of Meyer. And if that happens to be where it is, then both our runners got bamboozled here today. But hard to blame them for not wanting to do that very time-consuming check. And I had forgotten that Lana has not done Dark Death Mountain here, so all the more reason from Lana's perspective to be checking this first. And Pytlovan not going to go back into Swamp. So that's two very rough places that Ice Rod could be hunting that will have both of our runners feeling behind if it winds up being there. But of course, we know from our omniscient perspective that that's not an advantage or a disadvantage for anybody. Very nice bomb dupe strats on Pytlovan's side there. And Pytlovan opting to go ahead and clean up some overworld here. Unfortunately, this is not going to be the answer. All right, Lanabean about to start showing us some new checks, heading in here to Chain Chomp's room. Of course, this one had to be a key. But everything from this point on in Turtle Rock is going to be an if you haven't checked it, it's new to you situation for all of us. It looks like Pytlovan is going to be following suit, heading into Turtle Rock, because I'm fairly sure this is kind of all he has left. Having made the decision to go ahead and skip cutscene Chest of Mire, skip left side swamp, you're definitely not doing that before heading into Turtle Rock. Now, chat, don't argue. We can all be winners if the shovel is in the cutscene chest. And then that leads to Ice Rod. Then we can all be right. Lana opting to check the big chest before Mimic. Just 10 arrows. And Mimic is just 300 bucks. So the mystery of where the Ice Rod lies will remain unsolved for the moment. Could it be in Crystal Room? Survey says no. The moment of truth approaches, folks. Does Laser Bridge hold the answer? And if not, which of our sadly orphaned checks will? I don't think we've seen compass or map yet, correct me if I'm wrong, so only 2 checks here. One of them is the bug net. One of them's 50 bucks, and we're going to see if I'm correct in that. We got a small key, so in fact... Yep, okay. Lana's been counting items, even if I haven't. And Lana appears to believe that that is it. So chat... We always want the worst possible outcome for our runners. Where's Lana headed now? Spike Cave! Spike Cave, that is correct. I had forgotten all about Spike Cave, but neither of our runners had the hammer when they were up here. So that is one more spot that it could be hiding. Yep, unfortunately, there is just not going to be any way, to my knowledge, for Lana to maintain the portal. Spike Cave is not the answer. I'm going to go ahead and take the Death Warp out of here. Or we would if we didn't have a fairy. Oops. Oh, that's right. Lana still has not checked Ice Rod Cave either. So we know that's not going to be the answer. But this is going to be Lana's last chance to save that portal. And Pytlovan deciding, I've got a million things running in my head. I'm not going to take the chance that I've been counting wrong. I'm going to pick up that compass. Alas, it is not to be. And, all right, Lana's going to go ahead and check batter. That is, I take that back. That is one more check that, from Lana's perspective, might be able to save the portal. We know it's not going to be the answer. And all of this is real good for Pytlovan. Lana giving back that lead little by little, going over these checks that were skipped before. And it looks like we might be in for some Smith chain. So that's just a little more time that Lana's going to give back. This race is evening up. And it looks like Pytlovan did remember the fairy and is going to go ahead and use it here. And the question that's in everybody's mind, is that ice rod in left side swamp or is it in cutscene chest? And do either of our runners feel so behind that they are willing to take the gamble of going to Meyer first and taking the underdog bet? And just as I say that, it looks like that's what's going through Pytlovan's mind. And gamble though it may be, I like the play, because Pytlovan has to be feeling at least a little behind after that Helmasaur death. Has to be thinking it would be pretty reasonable for somebody to skip cutscene chest, but then not skip left side swamp with 2 items in there. So this may very well be my best chance to get things back up. Lana on the way to pick up that butter sword. And it looks like Lana's heading into swamp, getting out the hammer at least. We're waiting for the cutscene. Moment of truth, ladies and germs. This is going to determine who has the lead going into GT. It's 2-to-1 odds that it's in left side swamp, but crazier upsets can and do happen. The moment of truth awaits. The anticipation, and it is in cutscene chest. Look at that. That is go mode at 1 hour, 31 minutes, 30 seconds and change. Pytlovan just flipped this race. Folks were asking if Pytlovan can still save the portal. And to be frank, I am not up on that particular little bit of game mechanics. Pytlovan certainly seems to think that the portal has been saved. We're going to find out if that's the case. Both of these runners have been doing an excellent job today. Lana's execution has been maybe just the tiniest bit cleaner. So not impossible for this race to flip back, but Pytlovan's going to need to make some mistakes to give Lana a chance to catch back up here. Okay, Pytlovan knows his deep lore game mechanics better than I do. Did manage to save that portal. Nerves might be getting to Lana just a little bit here. Having a little bit of trouble with that diver down. Does get it on the second try. But meanwhile, Pytlovan heading into the Trinex fight. Nice, quick, easy fight when you've got Buttersword on your side. 3 slashes per head. A couple more to the body. The center head does not, in fact, become vulnerable if it hasn't exploded yet. But you know what? You got blue mail and a row and a half of hearts. Red mail, in fact. What do you care? And Lanabean just got the bad news. It's going to be a last location in the cutscene chest of Meyer. I see numbers starting to pop up there in chat. There are 22 locations that GT Big Key could be at. And depending on the key layout, if Pytlovan winds up going the wrong way, that could make this a very close race. So keep those eyeballs glued to the screen. Pytlovan entering GT just shy of 1 hour 35 minutes. Gonna go ahead and start out going left. Well, there's those silver arrows, so we are loaded for bear heading into the Ganon fight. But we're going to go ahead and mirror out of Stalfos room and see what right side has in store for us. Nothing in Hope room. Meanwhile, Lana just entered go mode at 1 hour 36 minutes. Grabbing that ice rod out of the long orphaned last location cutscene chest of Meyer. And this is the point in the race where you are eyeballing, at least if you're me, you are eyeballing that race time window. Wondering if your opponent's going to dot done at any minute. Oh, and there on the right-hand side of GT is the big key. I believe there was a small key in Hope Room, so Lana could make up a little bit of time by going right side first. I believe that was check number 6, but somebody who was doing better counting than I was can feel free to correct me on that. No, not 6. 8. Thank you. Thank you, Pixcalibur. And yeah, actually, Incoherent in chat brings up a very good point. With those silvers in Stalfos room, it might wind up being a bit of a wash either way. But with Lana heading all the way back through Turtle Rock to pick up that last crystal. It is very much Pytlovan's game to lose. Pytlovan just flying through the gauntlet, heading into his Lanmo 2. Lovely unicycle with those silver arrows. Flying over the collapsing bridge, on into the Four Torches room. Much like that castle escape sequence in the beginning, this is a largely scripted sequence that we have all done a million times. Not much of a challenge sitting between Pytlovan and the Big Blue Pig. And with red mail, butter sword, silver arrows, half magic, absolutely everything you could possibly want to make that pig fight nice and easy for yourself. Lana taking down Trinex. But is going to be entering GT. A full GT climb behind Pytlovan. Pytlovan entering the Geometry Wizard fight as Lana frantically crosses the Lionel Bridge. We've got a nice double to start things off. Only a single in the second on account of blue balls. That's a 2-1-2. It's only going to take one more shot. And the wizard goes down. The Space Ducks. The Space Duck got through a portal, found his own Moon Pearl, just to give us a ride back to the pyramid. Looks like Lana did opt to go right, so not going to be finding those silver arrows. Gold Sword making the 1-and-1 nice and easy for a quick first phase. Pytlovan getting in between the bats, using those lovely dash poke strats. Let's one of the fire bats out early in the first round of the Trolleport phase. Ganon says, sorry, was I moving too quick for you? Let me just slow it down. Make you chase me a little bit. Missing the torch glitch, but with silver arrows in hand, and that lovely triple to start off the final phase. The fourth arrow strikes home. The pig goes down. Get your GGs in chat for Pytlovan. Just has to cross this bridge to be officially declared our winner. With an official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, 37 seconds. Congratulations to Pytlovan. See if we can get him in here for an interview shortly. Looking in the race time window, it looks like Lana has in fact gotten the news, but is opting to go ahead and finish out the seed. And it looks like Pytlovan has made the way to the green room. You may join us in the interview booth when ready. In the meantime, we're going to be watching Lana head through this gauntlet. And we are, in fact, joined by... Have I been butchering the pronunciation of your screen name? Is it Pytlovan? Welcome, GG. Do we have you?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. You're coming through, but you're very quiet.
Okay, can you raise my volume or... I don't know.
We will... I'll go ahead and ping a volunteer, see if we can't get you boosted a little on our end. But congratulations on the victory. How do you feel?
Yeah, that end was a bit chaotic. The thing is, when I decided to go check pads, I knew the seed was bad already because I wasn't finding anything. I did full smiths, then went to find anything on the rest of the seed. So I went to check pads, and there it was, the sleepers, and afterwards, when I had beaten everything, I left side swamp and catfish, green pendant on Sahas and cutscene. So I went to TR because was my best density there. So and I had to come back anyway. So gladly it wasn't on. I wouldn't have been able to scan my portal on Turtle Rock, but gratefully it was on Mire anyways. It was out of seed.
Yeah, it was definitely rough times coming down to that rough ice rod hunt. As it turned out, both you and Lanabean made a lot of the same skips. Both of you skipped cutscene chest. Both of you skipped left side swamp, and it largely came down to, first of all, Lanabean's heading back to do a lot of overworld checks that had been avoided up until that point, giving you back a lot of time. And then you both ultimately came down to that decision: go to swamp first or go to cutscene chest, and you made the right call there.
Yeah, swamp was bad, especially because of the Turtle Rock part on it. So I would have left that for the last check. Sorry, my English is not that great, so I'm trying here.
Oh, no worries, no worries. You are doing just fine.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, I got confirmation that gonna skip the less located mark. Yeah, who really knows that would be that?
So, yeah, unfortunately, Lana did wind up getting a nice mid-game lead when you took that unfortunate death in pod
Yeah.
with that rough dark room. The two of you were doing that room at... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Don't you get finished. But that room was kind of bad. I thought I could do the room with the golden bee, but but I should have stick to my guts and just go with hammer and spins and do the safe strats there, and then use a medallion to clear that. And GG's Tangana.
Yes, indeed. GG's as Lanabean, rather, singular bean, crosses the finish line with an official race time of 1 hour, 49 minutes, 10 seconds, showing off some lovely silverless slash strats, which is not the usual way to handle a silverless Ganon, but very swaggy if you can do it.
She didn't find silvers as well. It was on Dark Magic Index.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like we are, in fact, joined by Lanabean. GG.
Thank you. GG. Pet GG's, everybody.
Yeah, we're commenting on not having a Aga pet seed, but it was a pet seed anyways.
Darn cutscene chest.
Yep, I was just telling Pytlovan that the two of you both came very close to a last location situation, and on both sides it came down to there are 2 checks in swamp, 1 in mire. Which do I go to first? And as it turns out, Pytlovan won the coin flip.
Yeah, easy to make. I mean, 2/3 chance for it to be in swamp. I'm like, it's totally mire, but whatever.
My decision was because I had scammed the portal on TR, so I went straight to mire there. So if I had to go back to swamp, I would lose my mirror, my portal there on TR. So I went to everything I had before. I think I didn't do only catfish and delivery of independence, but everything else I ended up doing except for that side.
It's like one of those things, right? I mean, you're 1 item from go. You're like, well, I hope my opponent skip Eastern Big Key chest.
Yeah, but I did skip that, but I skipped for a long time. But when I thought when I saw the pedestal message of Coopers, I went to do everything I did go do except for Marcus.
I had like little reason to go to Mire cutscene immediately because I pretty much ignored Smith Chain, Hammer Pegs, and whatnot, so I was able to run it in with Purple Chest and all that, so it made little sense to go to Mire before everything else, but I mean, it just comes down to you're not in go mode, clear your dungeons, and you're fine. You do left side swamp if you need to, but otherwise Mire you're doing earlier because of flippers, so you got your ice rod, you go independent Eastern, you get your fire rod, and most people are in go mode at that point, so it comes down to be thorough, and you finish the seed in about 120.
With pad, it was a little slow, but you could do Maya very early and get that hyper orb and clear everything else on go mode.
Oh, absolutely. I was in the Meyer area and I'm like, well, I guess nothing's here. Let's go. And then I go to town and it's like, let's go to Skull. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I should have checked Ped when I'm down near Thieves Town. So then I ran all the way up. I checked Ped and then I'm like, how do I route this? Let's go to Eastern. No, wait, then Green Pennant will be Iron Orphan. Okay, no, let's go to Thieves Town. Yeah, my brain was very confused for about 30 seconds routing wise.
Yeah. And that mini game was a little bit scary because I wasn't playing anything. But when I went to check pad and realized the true meaning of Saha's delivery for us. Saha doesn't like us, I believe.
Yeah, Saha pretty much hates us. And I'm sorry, I made the seed. I rolled it. This is what I'm talking about, Pit. This is why you roll tomorrow.
Okay. That's fine.
If we play both games, you roll both. Otherwise, we'll at least get a game 2.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for putting on a great show for all the people at home. Any final thoughts for the audience before we wrap things up?
Just thank you. Go ahead, Pit. You're fine.
No, you can go.
Well, thank you, Ben, for doing the commentary. Appreciate it. Pix, thank you for the track, and thank you for putting us on. It was fun. Pit, we're doing this tomorrow, same time. So 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 Eastern. We'll see what happens, but we get a game 2. So GG's Pit. Let's do this again tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
GG. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you very much to both of our runners. Thank you to Pixcalibur for clicking buttons on the back end, and to everybody behind the scenes on the SpeedGaming network of channels. Stay tuned for that Game 2 tomorrow, either here or on a multi-stream, depending on what we can work out with the Restream crew. If you are in the mood for more Casual Boots action, right now over on Speed Gaming 2, we are currently just about 15 minutes into a Game 2 of a doubleheader between Gem and Doomtap, so head over there if you still want more racing action. On behalf of myself and everybody else here at Speed Gaming, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.